Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Karen and this is Karen's Nitpicks. For today's episode, I have a lot of stuff to share. I have 2 finished objects, I have 3 whips, and I've got a lot of yarn. So I think we'll dive into it, but I did want to give a little update on my Christmas gift knitting question that I asked from my previous video, which I will link here if you missed it. I asked if you had any recommendations for Christmas gift knits, and I got a lot of really great recommendations. So tons of socks and little scarves, like the Sophie scarf was a big recommendation. Also the Pearl Soho dumpling bag, I thought was so cute. But I decided to go with socks for this year, and then I also think I'm going to do 2 weekend hats for my uncle and then my father-in-law, future father-in-law, and then everybody else is getting socks because I think that that is all I can handle mentally. So thank you so much for all of your recommendations. It really was a lot of help, and I will share the process along the way. So I think that's all for updates. Oh, but if I didn't say it before, I'll say it now. Please don't forget to like and comment on my video if you enjoy watching my content. It really does make a huge difference for me, and I have really enjoyed chatting with you guys in the comments. So yeah, if you have anything that you want to share, please feel free to leave in the comments. I love to respond to those, and if you like my videos, please subscribe. I have a little community, slowly growing but surely growing, so yeah, I would really appreciate it. So feel free, like, comment, and subscribe, and now we will get into it. So first up is my first finished object, which is my sweater number 18. This is a pattern from My Favorite Things Knitwear. It looks so good. I'm so proud of this knit. It's one of my best work yet, I think. If you are not familiar, so this is sweater number 18 from My Favorite Things Knitwear. It is knit in Knitting for Olive, heavy merino, and Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. I did the color marzipan for both, and it's knit on 5mm needles. I knit a size small, which gave me, I think, like, I have no idea. I'm right back at it, not looking up anything about the pattern or anything that I have to talk about. So, off to a great start. I have shared actually a lot about this pattern. So in maybe my last 2 videos, so I would check those out if you have not seen them already, because I have shared a lot about this. And I actually finished this maybe just before I posted my last podcast episode, so it's been kind of sitting in my storage bins for the last month or so, but I'm very happy that this is finally done. I'll do some close-ups to make sure that you can see all the different details, and I think the stitch pattern is really beautiful. It's probably my favorite knit that I've done so far. I'm really proud of this one, and I'm just looking forward to the winter when it'll be cold enough that I can actually wear this, because it's 95 degrees right now, so I've got a long way to go. Yeah, but I really am proud of this, and it's my favorite knit so far. I really enjoyed the pattern. I thought it was very easy to read. It's very beginner friendly. There's no short rows. It's got pretty simple increases on the right and wrong side, and everything else is knits and purls. So really super simple pattern, great for an adventurous beginner or somebody who wants to like experiment with texture after knitting a lot of stockinette pieces. So I would highly recommend this. I know that somebody is doing a sweater number 18 knit along right now, actually. I think it just started in the beginning of September, so yeah, so that's going on right now. But yeah, this is my sweater number 18. I think I'm going to go very quickly today because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. So, and plus I've talked about this quite a bit. So yeah, my sweater number 18. And now we'll move on to my next finished object. So finished object number 2 is my Scallop Jacket from Sticker Cuff. And this was a nail biter for me. I wanted to wait until I finished it in order to film this episode that I'm working on right now, and so I finished it last night. It's September 4th or 5th right now. Okay, and my hair is doing some fun stuff. It's September 4th or 5th right now. It's Labor Day. And yeah, I finished this last night just before I had to start getting ready to go out to dinner with some friends, and I was like pinning it to the blocking mat as our friends were walking through our front door. So definitely a nail biter as far as finishing on time goes, and definitely a very tedious knit. This is knit in 2x2 rib on 4mm needles, so pretty standard knit. And then it has 1x1 ribbing on the bottom, and then 1x1 ribbing on the button bands and the collar. It's really simple to follow this pattern. I really love this as like a finished piece. It's still damp actually right now because I think I'm gonna reblock it just to open it up, because I blocked it last night and the measurements for the bust was a little bit off from what the pattern says it's supposed to be for my size, which was a size small. So I think I'm going to, it's still a little bit wet, so I think I'm gonna try and just steam it and pin it a little bit closer to the measurements it's supposed to be, and then I should be good from there. So it fits fine, but if I wanted to close it, I don't think I could with where it is. But the ribbing has really stretched out a lot from blocking, which was fantastic, and I am really happy with this. But yeah, it was a long one. 2x2 rib is no joke. It feels like it takes forever, and it's no fault of the pattern, but it was hard. It was really hard to want to work on it for a while, especially picking up the sleeves, because 2x2 rib obviously condenses a lot when it's being knit. So I had to do both sleeves entirely on my DPNs, which was just like horrible, to no fault of the pattern, but like it was just not a pleasant experience, I think, using DPNs for 2 full sleeves. So I really did not enjoy that. I actually literally went on Amazon to buy 12-inch circular needles, because I was like, I don't think I can ever do this ever again. I never want to use DPNs ever again. So that's how I feel. That's what that experience was like. But overall, the pattern was fine. As much as I love this as a piece, I probably would not make it again, just because of how like not enjoyable the process was. But I would recommend it if this is a style that you like. It's a fitted cardigan, which you'll see in the close-ups that I give. Yeah, it's a fitted cardigan. It has maybe like 1 or 2 centimeters of positive ease. So it's really quite fitted, but it's really lovely piece, and I think it will bloom very nicely once I reblock it and stretch it to the correct measurement. So overall, I'm very happy about this one. And last but not least, I don't think I mentioned the yarn. So for this one, I used the alpaca silk from Hobby. I used a strand of alpaca lace from Hobby, and then I used a strand of mohair from Knitting for Olive. And they were all slightly different gray colors, and they just came up with this really beautiful, like, heathered kind of fabric. It's super soft now that it's been washed, and it was super soft as I was knitting it as well, but it does feel like it will be maybe a little bit itchy, so I'll have to wear something underneath. But it is alpaca, which was something that was really important to me. I wanted to make sure I got one knit in with alpaca this year, and I'm very happy that I did, and I'm very happy that I finished this piece, and I will never ever ever make it again. The last thing that I have to do with it is just make I have to sew on the buttons and sew on a label, but I decided that I want to do some mother of pearl buttons, so I had to order those because I didn't have them already in my stash. So as soon as those are done, I will probably post some photos on Instagram. So I will leave my Instagram handle over here so that you can follow me if you would like to, and catch up and see all my finished pieces before this episode probably goes up. So yeah, overall, not a great experience, but definitely worth having the finished object. So that is all for my finished objects. I know that was really quick, but I really have a lot to share today. You are gonna like freak out with how much I have to share. Okay, so let's go on to some whips. First up for my works in progress is my Marseille sweater. This is where we are at right now. I think the last time I shared this, I had maybe just joined for the front yoke, so I've made actually quite a good amount of progress. I'm joined in the round now, and I've gotten to my second body stripe, so I'm technically like halfway done with the body because I think that there's only 4 body stripes, so I'm getting close. About the, oh, did I say that this is by Petite Knit? Because it is. It's the Marseille Sweater by Petite Knit. I am knitting a size small. It's not on 4mm needles, and I'm using Paintbox Yarns Cotton DK. The white is called Champagne White. I also have this navy blue that I cannot remember the name of, but I will put it in the description. And then for the sleeves, I'm going to do a red, yellow, and green stripes on my sleeves, which I think I may actually pause on the body here and pick up for the sleeves, because I just like had such a terrible experience knitting the sleeves on my scallop jacket that I was like, I feel like that is going to be something that I get stuck on some of my coming projects. So I think the sooner I can get my sleeves and my collar done, the better. So I have just a little bit of yarn left on this ball that I'm working on, so I might finish this ball of yarn, and then I think I'm going to pick up for my sleeves. But I'm very excited about this piece because it's cotton, so it's something that I'll actually be able to wear pretty soon if I wanted to, unlike some of my other knit pieces. So this will be probably next on my list to put a lot of effort into so I can finish it. And yeah, I mean, I really am enjoying this one actually. The stripes are a lot more fun, I guess, than I thought that they would be, because I thought they would be too spread out that it would not feel quite as engaging, but it's pretty good. It definitely gives you like a landmark to work towards. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to turn out really beautifully. So yeah, I've talked about this quite a bit in my last episode, so I won't go too much into it, but overall it's been really great. I've weaved in some of my ends, and because it's cotton, they don't look very nice, so that is my only complaint about the pattern. And then of course the short rows on the shoulder to shape the shoulder I just didn't do very well, but it's not a complaint about the pattern, it's a complaint about my personal choices that I make. But I am honestly very happy with it so far. I'm looking forward to finishing this, and that's all I've got for you. And I'm knitting this in a size small. I don't think I mentioned that, but I pretty much knit everything in a small. That seems to be the size that works best for me to get slightly oversized but not swimming. So yeah, hopefully this will be finished by the time I see you guys next. But yeah, that's it on that one. So I am going to share my next finished object, which I think you guys are gonna like. So my next whip is the light loop sweater from Other Loops, and she is cute. It looks so good. I'm so excited about this piece. So if you are not on Instagram, if you're not following Other Loops on Instagram, she came out with this pattern earlier this month, or earlier in August, because it's now September, and she first showed it in the mohair version, and it was in a color that I didn't really vibe with, and I was kind of like, I could probably live without that one. But then maybe a few days later, she showed it in this stunning white boucle version, and I was like hooked immediately. I knew right away that I had to buy the pattern, I had to buy yarn, I had to be ready to cast it on as soon as the pattern came out. And I was, for the most part. I had at least ordered my yarn by the time the pattern came out. So that's how I got here. And I'm so happy with it so far. So this is, yes, the light loop sweater. I'm knitting it in a size small, and it's really nice. It's got a nice drapey, oversized fit. It's got loose sleeves, like you don't do any decreases for the sleeve, so it's really gives you a nice shape sleeve, almost like a bell sleeve without being like super big flare sleeve. It's knit completely in the round. Well, it's knit not completely in the round, but it's knit in one piece. So you start with the collar, you do short rows in the round, and then you split for the front and back, and then you just rejoin in the round. So it's nice because there's no seaming. The only other thing I'll have to do is pick up for the sleeves, and then there's also no finishing things to do. Like I don't have to do any ribbing or anything like that. So this should be a very, 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 very easy piece to put together. So I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a really beautiful piece. I think it's going to be perfect for this time of year, kind of the end of summer, moving into fall, where it starts to get a little bit cooler, but you know, you can still wear like your linen pieces. You still want to have like a light layer or something along those lines. I just think that this is going to be a perfect piece for that. So I'm very excited. It's also knit on 7mm needles, so this is just zooming by. It's like honestly nuts. I think I had knit at least the full collar and the full back panel in maybe like 2 days, and then I did another 1 day or another like couple hours, 3 or 4 hours to finish the front panel and join in the round. And then I haven't worked on it since then, so it goes really fast on the 7mm needles, which is really fantastic. and it's only held with one strand of boucle yarn. So I'm using the Isiger alpaca boucle, which I love. I'm really excited because this is number one, my first experience using Isiger yarn, and number two, it's my first experience using boucle yarn. So I love this. It's so nice. It was definitely a struggle to do the cast on because you do a Italian cast on, and that was rough, like trying to see the stitches on boucle yarn was not easy, but it worked out perfectly fine. I think my cast on edge looks as good as it can, and I am really looking forward to finishing this. I think it's going to be a really quick knit, and I feel like I'm going to be able to just like get to wear it as soon as possible, which is exactly what I was looking for. Other than that, the pattern has been great so far. Super easy to read. It's like 2 pages long. Like, it's got very quick, simple instructions, and it's really, I mean, it's just stockinette the whole time, so it's not even like a ton of work. So this has just been such a great piece. I'm really glad that I decided to knit this right away, because I have a feeling it's going to get a lot of use in the next coming weeks. So yeah, I'm very excited. That's pretty much it on this, I have to say. It's like so far so good, no complaints, and that's it. So I hope to have this as a finished object the next time we talk also, because I'm pretty close on finishing this, but I think I might do the same thing where I pick up for the sleeves next instead of finishing the body because I only have 3 of these balls of yarn, so I just want to make sure I have enough of that. So that's it on this. It's great piece. So we'll move on to my next whip. So last but not least was my Moby sweater that I am knitting for my fiance. So I don't have a ton of progress, and I'll tell you why. I think last time I only had a swatch to share with you. I hadn't even started it yet, so I've officially cast on. This is as far as I've gotten for a few reasons. I wanted to finish my scallop jacket first because I started it a really long time ago. The same with my Marseille sweater. I just started them a really long time ago, like back in June, and I didn't want them to be whips for like 3 months, so I was just, number one, focusing on finishing those first. Number two is I actually made a lot of progress on this, and then I realized that I was knitting the wrong size. So that didn't feel very good. I originally cast on for a size medium after I measured my fiance's chest circumference, and I think I just read the pattern wrong, and I looked at like the finished bust circumference instead of the bust circumference for the size, and so I got a little bit confused and ended up casting on the wrong size. So it's fixed now, but I had to frog back the entire thing. I was almost finished with this ball of yarn, my first ball of yarn, and I had to frog back pretty much the whole ball. So it's fine. It is what it is. It's my own fault for not reading the pattern properly. But I've recast on. I'm very happy with my progress up to this point, and I'm looking forward to getting to focus on it because I was really enjoying working on it and reading the chart and seeing the progress kind of unfold all together. So it was really great. I'm very excited about it. And plus I had actually made a couple of mistakes on my previous version, so I'm glad that I kind of had to start over because I can fix those now. I'm knitting a size extra large for my fiance. It's knit on 4mm needles, and I'm using Sandnes Garn Pure Gint in the color Forest Green. It's the suggested yarn, and my fiance picked green, so we went with the Forest Green. I purchased the yarn from Mother Knitter, who is just a yarn shop. They're based in like Red Bank, New Jersey, I think. And yeah, so far so good. Because I made the mistake of knitting the wrong size, I had to order additional yarn, so I made like 3 or 4 yarn orders to them for like 1 ball of yarn, 3 balls of yarn. Like all these, they're probably so annoyed that I was like, okay, I just need to order a couple more balls, but whatever, it is what it is. I have everything that I need now, so I should just be able to focus on it. The other thing is that for this, I ended up buying a 40-inch circular needle also, because my fiance's like chest circumference would be way over the 32-inch circumference of the needle, so I figured it would make sense to get a longer needle for when I'm working in the round, and it should be a little bit more comfortable instead of trying to squeeze like so many stitches on a 32-inch needle. So that is pretty much it on this. I haven't made very much progress, but I am enjoying it. I really do love the pattern. I think it's really beautiful, and I think it's going to be a really fun piece to knit as soon as I take the time to focus on it, which is going to be difficult because I have a lot of chaotic cast on energy. Luckily I haven't acted on it yet, but the energy is there, and it's because it's fall, almost fall. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it. This is a quick one, and I am very much ready to start over. So nope, not start over. Keep working on this. Okay, so those were all my whips, and now we're gonna move in to some of my knitting plans, my massive pile of acquisitions, and dive into what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of the summer, what my plans are going into fall and even the winter, because the amount of whips I want to cast on is gonna take me several months to finish. So let's dive in. I've talked about some of these things in my previous videos already, so I'll just go over quick. I just want to show you the yarn because I don't think I had it in my last video. And if I did, sorry. Oh, I forgot my swatches. So first up, the first thing will be, maybe not the first thing, but one of the next things will be my sweater number 15. So this is the swatch that I made, and I'm really excited about it. It's gonna be so beautiful. It feels nice. This, I think, is my favorite fabric out of all the swatches that I made, so I'm really excited. What I was looking for when I decided to make this was a light pink cabled sweater, and so naturally sweater number 15 was the best pattern for that. And I found this yarn from Biches et Bouches, which is a French yarn. Nope, I think they are actually a Danish yarn company, but they are based in France. And so I found this like light gray, rosy pink there, and I decided to use that for my sweater. So the pattern is knit with a fingering weight and a mohair on 4mm needles. It's all over cables, and that's about all I remember from the pattern. It's definitely going to be a little bit more complex than some of the previous pieces that I've knit, but it's not going to be as complex, I think, as maybe the Moby Sweater, because it's not a charted pattern. So I have the petite lamb's wool here for my base, and then the petite silk mohair for my accompaniment. These are, does it have the names on them? So the mohair is in the color very light pink, and then this is in soft pink gray. So they make a really beautiful pair together. I actually originally had to buy, so I originally bought this to hold with a different base, but when it arrived, I was not really happy. I didn't think that they would pair well together, so I decided to buy this, and it's definitely more along the lines of what I was looking for. Just a really nice, soft pink sweater. I think it's going to be so perfect, and this will probably not be my next cast on, but it will be like my next cast on. So I'm very excited. This is going to be really important that I get done for the fall, because I've been thinking about making this sweater pretty much all summer. The second sweater that I am planning to knit is my Salty Days sweater, which I've talked about a little bit before in my previous video. I finally have the yarn in stock in my stash, and then I also was able to make a swatch for it. So there's my swatch. I love how this turned out. It just looks, I mean, the swatch looks like a mermaid tail, but I don't think that this is actually how the pattern looks on, and when it's actually knit up. But I love the swatch. It's one of my favorites, and this is also like a very, very soft swatch. It's really, really nice. So for this sweater, it is knit with a DK weave and a mohair, and so you're probably wondering why I'm holding 2 mohairs and 1 fingering weight yarn. Well, that's because the other fingering weight yarns are in my closet. So I have Sandnes Garn Sunday in one of the petite knit colorways. It's called Banana, maybe, or Light Banana, something like that. Does it have a color code? The color code is 2114, and I am going to hold this double with a mohair. Now, I made balaclava number 1, number 3, number 1 maybe, last year by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I used these 2 together, and I really liked the fabric and how it turned out, and I ended up having a lot of it left over, so I figured that I would reuse it for my Salty Days sweater. However, I was being lazy, and I did not want to order more of the mohair from Knitting for Olive, so I was like, I'll just order the Sandnes Garn Tin Silk mohair, which I don't know if you can tell, but they're not the same color. This is a very light like pastel yellow, and this is more of like a dusty pastel kind of yellow. So this one has a lot more kind of like gray and brown tones, versus this is very light and bright, and you know, so I personally don't care that much, and I don't think it will make a huge difference. I think I will need to be smart about like how I put the skeins into the piece, but I feel like it will honestly be not that big of a deal because it's just the mohair. I don't think it will make too big of a color difference, but either way, I don't think I even care that much, because my whole point of making this was to have a nice light yellow sweater, and regardless of which mohair I use, I think I will get that. So that is that one. I'm really excited to cast this on, but I think I'm gonna push this back a little bit in my plans, because this is also a charted pattern. along with some of my other whips that I have on the docket. So I just think to do like 3 charted patterns at once will feel like a lot if I don't have anything simple and mindless in between. So I don't know when I'm going to cast this on, but hopefully maybe sometime in October is kind of what I'm aiming for. Next, I have this. So these are, funnily enough, not really what I'm going to get. So I made this swatch a few weeks ago because I wasn't quite sure what pattern I wanted to use this yarn for. This Le Petit Lambswool is what I had originally bought to use with the light pink mohair for my sweater number 15, because this is called light pink violet, and silly me thought that it would be more pink than violet because that's what the website image was. Obviously, that's not the case. So I didn't want to return this because I really do actually love the color. It just was not what I wanted for that specific project. So I decided to keep it, and instead I purchased this mohair from Hobby, which is Friends Kid Silk, in the color, I think it's called, okay, color number is 67. I think it's called like lilac or lavender or something like that. So they don't look like they go quite together, but this is actually the perfect match for some of the purpley strands in the yarn. So they came together to make this really beautiful swatch that I'm very happy with, actually. However, this swatch is for the Swirl Sweater by Twin Knits, and it's, I mean, not what I want. It's not the right yarn for that pattern. That pattern happens to use 3 strands of mohair, and I was like, well, maybe I could swing it and figure out if I can get the yarn to work for that pattern. But I made my swatch, I washed, I blocked it, and in order to meet the gauge, I had to stretch it out a lot, and so the fabric is just a little bit too airy for me. Like, you can just see straight through it, and I don't think that's gonna be what I want for this sweater. So I actually decided this morning that I am going to make a field day cardigan with this instead, because I used to have a sweater in this very similar colorway from Target, and I kind of got rid of it, but a couple of years ago, or maybe I gave it to my mom or something like that, but I was thinking that this would be a really nice color for a cardigan to wear for the spring, and I just think it's a very beautiful color and I would really like it. So the Field Day Cardigan by Ozetta is a DK weight pattern. She holds it with just 1 strand of a DK weight yarn, so I figured that based on my stockinette swatch on the bottom here, if I had just left it not quite as stretched out, I would have met the gauge, which is 22 stitches for 10 centimeters, whereas this has like 19 stitches, but it's overstretched. So I think it will be a good fit with the fingering weight and the mohair. So that's my new plan, and I think it will be a great, simple piece to work on in between all of my charted patterns. So that's my thought process on that, and I'm excited to cast this on. I think it will be really beautiful and a great finished piece to go with. I'm leaning into a lot of purple these days, so I think it will be a cool cardigan to have at the very least. So I'm excited. I love the way that the yarns look together. It's just like really stunning. So that is that. But we're not done yet. I have like 3 or 4 other projects to share. So you may recall that I have a couple of skills I want to learn before I come up on my 1-year anniversary of learning to knit. And so the next thing on my list is to knit a lace pattern, and I am gonna have this be my next cast on. So this is my swatch for the Vita Sweater by Knit, and oops, I'm so in love with this. It's the most stunning thing I have ever possibly knit ever in my entire life. This pattern was definitely confusing to me at first. I was having trouble reading the chart because I wasn't paying, I think, close enough attention to counting which stitch I was on, which it makes a little bit more sense when you look at the chart, like why I was confused, but I eventually figured it out. So she has a lot of tutorial videos on her website, so I looked through some of those for the ones of the stitches that I was getting confused about, and I finally kind of like, after watching the videos a couple of times, I figured out, and watching another video about reading charts again, I figured out what I was doing wrong, and so I was able to successfully knit this swatch. I knit it about halfway the first time, and then I had to frog it and start over because I was not doing it correctly. So this is my second attempt at this swatch, and it was very successful, and so I feel confident that I can cast this on probably this afternoon now that I've finished my scallop jacket. So about the yarn, because we're talking about acquisitions right now. For the yarn, I am using Filcolana Saga and Filcolana Tilia, and I am supposed to hold 2 strands of Saga together and 1 strand of Tilia. So this pattern, the Vita Sweater, only has 3 sizes, and the size and the fit is based on the yarn that you use. So for my size, which is going to be the second size, she suggests using 2 strands of she calls it a lace weight, but I do think that Saga is a little bit more of like a fingering weight, a light fingering weight, and 1 strand of mohair, versus, for example, the first size, she recommends holding 1 strand of Saga with 2 strands of mohair. So that should give you an idea of kind of like, I guess, the difference. And then I'm going to be knitting on 5.5mm needles, and this project is knit bottom up, which is something that I have also never done. So I happen to be tackling an extra skill that I did not plan on tackling, but I'm very excited to test it out, because I think knitting bottom up is going to feel like a test of endurance because you do really the easy stuff first, and then you have to go in and do the hard stuff. So I'm gonna try my best. I do think this is gonna take me a little while, but I'm gonna push through, because I really would like to finish this. So also the color, I wanted to use the color Marzipan, but it ended up being sold out. So this is actually called Oatmeal, I think, and then this one is the color Latte, which I love them together. And my swatch, it really leans more into the base yarn, but I do love the color choice. And this yarn is so soft together. I am really, really excited about this. It's so stunning. I cannot wait to have this in my closet. I'm gonna wear the heck out of it. It's gonna be so good. So I'm really excited about this, and it's another charted pattern, so I'm gonna be knitting it at the same time as my Moby sweater, which is why I thought it would be best if I had a couple of simple stockinette patterns that I don't have to think too much about while I'm working on both of those, which is why I haven't finished my light loop sweater or my Marseille sweater just yet. So that is where I'm at with this. This is going to be my next cast on, and I cannot wait. So another cast on that's coming up soon, and I'm sure you have seen it, is going to be the Eva Cardigan by Petite Knit. Everyone just fell in love with this pattern, I think. I've watched so many podcasts of people talking about casting on this project, so I am just going for it. I have to say, I think I feel really similarly to a lot of other people, where when she first showed the sample, when it didn't have the buttons on yet, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna be like what I want. The collar makes it look very much like a shawl type of cardigan, and I was like, that's not really like my style, so I kind of wrote it off. But then she posted a video of her wearing it fully finished with the buttons attached, and I was like, ugh, I guess I'm gonna be knitting this one. It was so stunning, and so I bought yarn right away, and I knew I was gonna make it for the fall. So I have decided to knit this in Peer Gynt in the color Cacao Nibs, which is one of Petite Knit's new colorways for Peer Gynt, and I'm really looking forward to knitting this because I actually have wanted to add a brown cardigan into my closet for a little while, but I'm pretty particular, I think, about number one, the shade of brown, and number two, the types of cardigans that I add to my closet. So I am excited because I saw the Cacao Nibs colorway, and I knew immediately that it was the right color to knit something brown. So I just kind of went for it and I thought it was a great fit for the pattern, so I'm going for it. Plus, I actually do really enjoy a wool cardigan. I have a lamb's wool cardigan actually that I purchased from Alex Mill, and I wear it all the time. It's probably my most worn cardigan in my wardrobe, and I think it feels very similar to Peer Gynt, even though that is lamb's wool and this is Norwegian wool. But I'm excited about it, and I think brown is just going to be the way to go for me. So I haven't swatched for this project yet. The last couple of yarn balls that I have to show, I haven't swatched for those projects yet, because this one I do think I'm going to try to cast on in September, but I have quite a few projects going right now, and so I'm trying to resist the urge to overwhelm myself, especially because I'm going to start Christmas gift knitting soon, so I don't want to be super overwhelmed. But this is definitely coming up in my queue very soon, and I cannot wait. It's going to be so stunning. Next up in my knitting queue is another brown project and another boucle project, because it's not a runway trend from what I've seen, but it's definitely a knitting trend. There's a lot of boucle going on right now. Everyone's into boucle, and I saw it coming from a mile away back in the spring, and so I am doing boucle. So I am going to be knitting, I'm planning to knit sweater number 24 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and she suggests using Isiger Alpaca 1. I have to cover my face. So Issachar Alpaca 1 and the Mohair by Canard Boucle. So that is what I've decided on. They are both in this kind of rich, dark chocolatey brown. So this I think is called Cafe, but the color number is 1041. And this one is color number 60, which is like a very dark kind of chocolatey, almost like a plum color kind of brown. And I haven't swatched for this yet. I truthfully don't think I will. But I am very excited about this. And I think it's going to be such a great project. I really, really just like love the look of boucle. It has grown on me so much. And so I decided that I think I need like a full-on fuzzy, thick kind of sweater. Different from the light loop sweater because that one is knit on 7mm needles, so it's a lot more airy and it's oversized and it's very loose, whereas this one is going to kind of feel a little bit more like a sweater. I think it's knit on 4mm needles if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the pattern in front of me. And it's the 2 strands held together, so it should be number 1 pretty warm and number 2 pretty dense. It will definitely have kind of a regular fabric, and fabric will be very like tight knit pretty much instead of loose and airy like the light loop sweater. So this is like at the moment pushed until October or November for me on my list of knitting, but it's definitely on there, and I probably I'm going to want to cast it on sooner because I do think that this is going to be a cool piece to have towards the end of fall as it actually starts getting cold, so I might want to cast it on a little bit sooner. And it is a plain stockinette project, so it should be fairly simple to work on. So last but not least, I have one more project. And the other knitwear trend that I'm noticing for this coming fall is tweed. A lot of people are knitting tweed projects, and so I jumped on the bandwagon as soon as I could. I actually really love tweed, and I have noticed, I think when I'm selecting yarns to use for projects, that I really like a heathered yarn or something that has a little bit of variegation in the fibers. I don't always love a solid yarn or tonal yarn. I really like to see heathering. I like the fun flecks of color, so I'm very excited about working on this project. So for the yarn, we have Madro Garn. This is the tweed yarn, and then I got also their mohair. I have actually never, well, that's a lie. Okay, I've knit with their fine merino. Last year I used it for a baby project for my niece, and I knit a little baby cardigan, which was really sweet, and I had a lovely experience working with that yarn. So I wanted to try the other yarns that they had, and up until recently they actually did not have this tweed supreme is what it's called. So they haven't had this yarn up until maybe the last month or two. So I was really excited to try this, and I had my eye on the mohair, but I didn't want to buy just mohair from them, so I figured now that they had a new base, it was perfect time to purchase them and use them together. So this is in the color slate, the tweed is in the color slate, and the mohair is in the color charcoal. The tweed has really beautiful like blue, orange, yellow specks in it, and it's going to be so stunning for the pattern that I haven't told you about yet. So I have decided to knit the October sweater, because I also am really into the sweaters with a split hem at the moment, and so I thought the October sweater would be a great pattern to test that out with, because this is a fingering weight yarn, and it was, I don't know, I was having trouble finding patterns that was a fingering weight and a mohair held together for some reason, so I decided on the October sweater, and I'm really looking forward to working on it. I haven't looked too closely at the pattern, so I actually don't really know any of the specs, but I expect to be knitting a size small. I think it's probably on 4mm needles if I had to guess. It has a nice split hem, it has just a regular crew neck collar, and I think it's a raglan, if I'm thinking correctly. So I'm really excited. I think the tweed will be a really nice touch. I'm excited to test out the mohair. Also, one thing to note about the mohair is that it has a black silk strand. I'm sure you cannot even see that, but the silk strand is black on this mohair, which I really like. I think that is such a nice touch for a darker yarn, because I personally don't really love when the silk strand is white on like a dark gray yarn or navy blue yarn or something, and you end up being able to see the silk strand. So I'm really happy to see that this has a black silk strand. I think it's just a really nice touch on their side for making the knitting experience as nice as it can possibly be. So that's all for my acquisitions. I've talked a lot. I've talked your ears off and your eyes, I guess, because this is a video. But that is actually all that I have for you today. So I'm gonna go do some editing and some other videos I have to shoot. I'm excited. I have a lot of plans to talk through some fall videos coming up, so I cannot wait to do that with you. But I have to go clean up the giant mess that I've made in my bedroom filming this. So I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and always for your support. I am really happy to be in this space, and I'm always open to all of your wonderful feedback and all of the recommendations that you make. So thank you so much for everything that you've shared with me. And I hope that you will like and comment and subscribe to my channel and keep watching my videos, because I really enjoy making them. So that's all, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.